You think you sit or awake. But look closer. Most men are sleepwalkers wrapped in noise, mistaking their shallow reflections for depth. They polish illusions and call them brilliance. They crown themselves kings, while their thrones are made of sand. You feel it, don't you? The emptiness when the mask slips. The quiet humiliation when the world does not kneel to your fantasies. The sting of knowing your power is not forged, only imagined. The winter is coming for those who pretend. The storm does not bow to weak minds. Wolves do not mistake barking dogs for rivals. This is not a sermon. This is an execution ground. Here, illusions die. Here, silence weighs heavier than screams. And if you walk through these shadows with me, you will leave one of two ways: shattered in pieces, or reborn in fire. A fool's crown is invisible, yet heavier than iron. It rests on the heads of those who believe they already know. The ones who mistake noise for wisdom. The ones who confuse memorized words for earned scars. There is a sickness in the modern mind. A disease that whispers, "You are already great." It feeds you praise before you fought a single battle. It convinces you that knowledge is power, even when that knowledge has never been tested in the fire of pain, or silence, or loss. But brilliance is not loud. It does not need to shout. It is sharpened like a blade, slow, deliberate, honed through years of cuts and mistakes. The weak mind does not understand this, so it wears the crown of fools. It pretends. It imitates. It believes that because it can talk about strength, it has earned strength. Because it has read about discipline, it knows discipline. Because it can mimic confidence, it has mastered power. But the truth always waits. The first storm will break the illusion. The first failure will tear away the mask. And then the crown will show its weight. You know this because you worn it. We all have. You felt the arrogance of believing you were ready, only to collapse when life struck you. You thought you were unshakable, until the ground moved. You thought you were a warrior, until you faced your first real war. It is shameful. It burns. But that shame is a gift. It is the first fire of rebirth. A man who feels no shame will never change. He will rot, smiling, crowned by his own ignorance. But the man who feels the sting of humiliation, he has a chance. He can tear the crown from his head. He can kneel in the dirt, admit his weakness, and begin again. There is a law of power that cannot be escaped. Only through loss, failure, and humiliation is clarity born. You cannot wield a sword forged in silence if your hands have only touched paper. You cannot command yourself if you've never been broken. Think of the wolf. It does not boast. It does not parade its teeth in the safety of daylight. It bleeds. It hunts. It starves. And because of that, when the storm comes, it survives. The fool mocks the silence. The wise man kneels before it. The fool wants crowns, thrones, and recognition. The wise man wants scars, because scars cannot be faked. Look at your own life. How many crowns have you worn? How many times did you think you were ready, only to realize you were still a child playing at being a king? How many times did you inflate your chest, recite words of strength, and then crumble the moment reality pushed back? That is the crown of fools, and you cannot keep it. It will break you if you try. So you must break it first. You must strip away the arrogance, the pretending, the noise. You must seek silence. You must seek defeat. You must enter the fire willingly, knowing it will scar you, knowing it will humble you, knowing that without it, you are nothing but another loud voice in a crowded room. There is no glory in pretending. There is no power in borrowed wisdom. A man must bleed for his clarity. A man must bury his pride if he ever wishes to rise. So let shame do its work. Let it burn the lies you've told yourself. Let it cut deep. Do not run. Do not numb it. Face it. Because the day you feel that burn and refuse to hide from it is the day you finally take the crown off your head. And only then, with your hands scarred, your ego shattered, your silence sharpened, only then are you ready to forge something real. The world does not need another fool wearing an invisible crown. It needs men who have destroyed theirs. And if you are listening now, if the words pierce you instead of pass through you, then you already know what you must do. Burn the crown, bury the ashes, and stand without it, bare, unmasked, unworthy, because from there, you can finally become dangerous. The fool is decorated. The master is silent. Which one are you? The illusion always feels strong until the wolves arrive. You can bark. You can boast. You can wear the mask of confidence so tightly it almost convinces you. But wolves do not fear your bark. They smell the weakness in your blood. They hear the tremor you hide in your throat. They see the flicker in your eyes when silence stretches too long. You cannot fake strength before the strong. Not for long. Not for a second. Wolves do not measure you by what you say. They measure you by what you can hold in the silence, by how steady your hands are when no one speaks, by whether your gaze is a blade or a shield. That's the cruel truth. Silence is the X-ray. Your pretenses fracture beneath it. The posturing, the words, the inflated chest, all of it dissolves when a man who has bled stares into you. He does not see your performance. He sees your history. He sees what you've carried and what you've avoided. And if you've avoided pain, avoided loss, avoided discipline, then you are already prey. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you walked into a room and felt exposed? Not by what was said, but by what wasn't. How many times have you felt smaller when standing next to a man who carried his silence like a weapon? That wasn't in your imagination. That was the wolf seeing through you. There is no crown to hide behind here. No mask thick enough. No words fast enough. Because wolves are not impressed by words. They are trained by scars. They know what it costs to stand unshaken. They know what it feels like to starve, to be humiliated, to crawl through the dirt and rise again. And when they look at you, they search for those marks. If they do not find them, they know what you are. Prey. This is the paranoia that should haunt you. The knowledge that the strong already know what you try to hide. That every attempt to inflate yourself only confirms your emptiness. That you cannot bluff wolves. They do not play poker. They play for survival. And so if you truly wish to transform, there is only one weapon left, the silent audit. It is simple, but it is merciless. You place yourself in the company of men sharper than you, colder than you, more disciplined than you, and you say nothing. You let the silence carve through your defenses. You feel the cracks in your confidence widening. You watch yourself panic under the weight of their stillness. And in that panic, you learn who you really are. Do you fidget? Do you overcompensate? Do you shrink? Do you try to impress? To speak? To prove? Every reaction reveals you. Every movement tells the wolves what they already suspected, whether you are steel or glass. This is not advice. This is a weapon. The silent audit is the mirror that will not lie. It will not flatter you. It will not protect your pride. It will expose every weakness in you until you either break or forge yourself into something unrecognizable. You should be afraid of this. Because once you see your weakness reflected back at you, there is no escape. You cannot pretend anymore. You cannot go back to the illusion. You will either rise or you will remain prey forever. And here lies the decision every man faces. Will you continue barking in the safety of the herd, hoping no wolf turns its eyes toward you? Or will you step into the silent circle and let your arrogance be torn apart? Because make no mistake, wolves see through you already. The only question is whether you will survive their gaze or collapse beneath it. Remember this? Words are air. Posturing is smoke. Silence is steel. And in the presence of wolves, only steel survives. So ask yourself, when the silence closes in, when the gaze of the strong is fixed on you, when every mask begins to crack, what will they see? A predator or prey? False confidence is a dangerous architect. It builds empires, but of sand, towers that shine in the light, castles that look unshakable from a distance. You tell yourself you are rising, that you are already a king. But every stone you lay is hollow. Every wall you raise is fragile. Every throne you carve is waiting to collapse. And collapse always comes. It comes like a storm that no man can bargain with. The wind does not care about your speeches. The rain does not care about your pride. The storm tears away the mask and scatters everything you thought you built. What is a throne worth if the first storm scatters it to dust? This is the betrayal most men never prepare for. The betrayal of their own mind. You convinced yourself you were strong, that you were ready, that you had what it takes. But your strength was arrogance. Your readiness was fantasy. And the foundation of your throne was nothing but sand. The arrogance that lifts you is the same fire that burns you. The fire whispers of greatness, of destiny, of superiority. And for a time you believe it. You walk taller, you speak louder, you wear the crown like it belongs to you. But fire does not discriminate. It devours the fool as quickly as it forges the master. And when it consumes you, it leaves only ashes. You can ignore this for a while. You can tell yourself your throne will hold. You can believe your empire is different. But deep down you know that when the storm comes, when silence replaces applause, when wolves circle, when the weight of reality presses against you, you will fall. And when you do, the pain will not come from others. It will come from yourself. You will taste the betrayal of your own illusions. You will see that the man who sabotaged you was not your enemy, not your rivals, not even the wolves, but you. That moment is humiliation. It is collapse. It is the throne of ashes. But collapse is not the end. Collapse is purification. The throne must burn before you can ever build one of stone. The ashes must scatter before you can forge steel. The man who never collapses is the man who never faced reality. He sits in a hollow kingdom, king of nothing, worshipped by lies. But the man who burns, if he endures it, if he does not run, if he kneels in the ashes and breathes in the smoke of his own failure, that man begins again. That man rebuilds differently. He learns to carve from rock instead of sand. He learns to forge from scars instead of arrogance. He learns that true crowns are not worn. They are carried silently in the marrow of a man who has already lost everything once before. You cannot skip this. You cannot escape it. The law is absolute. Collapse comes for every false empire. The only choice is whether you let it destroy you or purify you. So look at your life. Look at the thrones you've built. Are they made of arrogance, of noise, of fragile confidence waiting to shatter? Or are they carved from silence, discipline, and wounds that no storm can erase? This is the war every man must fight. Not with others, but with himself. With his own illusions, with the empire of sand he built inside his mind. Do not fear collapse. Fear never collapsing. Fear sitting forever on a throne that only looks real until the first gust of wind takes it from you. When the dust clears, when the smoke settles, when the ashes fall cold, you will either be gone with them, or you will be standing, scarred, hardened, purified. The throne of ashes is not the end of you. It is the test that decides whether you were ever real to begin with. And if you survive it, you no longer need a throne, because you become one. There is a mirror every man fears, not the polished one in his bathroom, not the one that flatters him under the right light. I mean the scarred mirror, the mirror that does not care about your smile, your posture, or your illusions. The mirror that reflects not who you pretend to be, but who you are when no one is watching. Most men avoid it. They drown themselves in noise, so they never hear its silence. They keep moving, talking, scrolling, distracting, because they know if they stop, if they stand still long enough, the scarred mirror will appear. And in it, they will see the truth. The wasted years, the chances they never took, the numbness that has rotted their hunger, the lies they repeated until they believed them. This is the weight that breaks many men, not failure, not defeat, but the confrontation with themselves. Stand in front of that mirror long enough, and you realize, every scar is a line of scripture written in your flesh. Every cut, every humiliation, every collapse is a A verse that reminds you that life does not give wisdom freely. It carves it into you with knives, with storms, with betrayals. Most men try to hide their wounds. They cover them with masks, with pride, with arrogance. They think scars are weakness. They think silence about pain makes them strong. But they are wrong. Do not hide the wound. Hide the man who has none. Because a man without scars has never risked, never fought, never bled. He has only lived in safety, in shadows of comfort, in the shallow waters where nothing hunts him. His skin may look smooth, but his spirit is fragile. The first cut will break him. But you, if you've been cut, if you've bled, if you've carried shame on your back and humiliation in your chest, then you are different. You may look broken. You may feel broken. But every scar you carry is a map, a scripture, a reminder of the battles you've already survived. Look at them closely. The scar from failure that taught you you were not ready. The scar from betrayal that taught you trust must be earned. The scar from loss that taught you how little control you truly have. The scar from silence that taught you no one is coming to save you. These are not signs of weakness. They are scripture. They are proof that the fire did not consume you. It shaped you. The scarred mirror will never flatter you. It will never whisper comfort. It will never tell you you are already enough. It will show you where you've lied, where you've wasted, where you've chosen weakness. But it will also show you the marks of survival. The evidence that you have already endured storms most men would drown in. This is the paradox. The mirror both haunts you and saves you. It destroys the illusions, but it gives you a foundation. Because once you see yourself as you are, not as you wish to be, not as you pretend to be, only then can you build without lies. Do you understand the weight of that? How few men ever stand naked before themselves. How few men ever strip the mask and confront the scars without shame. That is why most remain children in grown bodies forever running from the scarred mirror. But you are not most men. You cannot afford to be. So look at your scars. Let them speak. Let them accuse you. Let them remind you. Let them strip the arrogance from you. And then when the silence feels unbearable, stay there. Do not run. Do not distract. Stay in the mirror until you no longer fear what you see. Because when you stop fearing it, something shifts. You realize the scars are not there to shame you. They are there to guide you. They are fuel. They are reminders that you did not die when you thought you would. That you endured. That you became something different. Something harder. Something unkillable. The scarred mirror is not your enemy. It is your scripture. Every line carved into you is a lesson no book could teach. No voice could give. No shortcut could replace. So stand before it. Face yourself. And understand the brutal law of life. It is not the man without scars who is strong. It is the man who has turned his scars into steel. Because in the end, the mirror does not lie. It only asks you one question. Will you carry your scars like chains, or wield them like blades? Exile is not abandonment. It is the battlefield where the old self is executed. Most men fear exile. They fear the silence of being misunderstood, the loneliness of being cast aside, the cold weight of walking roads no one else will follow. They mistake exile for weakness, as if being cut away from the herd means death. But for the warrior, exile is the crucible. It is the fire where illusions are burned, and the false self is put to death. Exile strips you. It tears away the comfort of applause. It robs you of recognition. It rips from you the easy lies you once told yourself. And when you are left alone, no masks, no witnesses, no distractions, you must face the truth of who you are. That is why most men cannot endure it. They run back to the herd, begging for noise, for attention, for a place among the average. They cannot bear the silence. They cannot bear themselves. But if you are willing to endure exile, something changes. The silence that once felt like death becomes a forge. The loneliness that once felt like punishment becomes fire. And in that fire, the old self, weak, arrogant, fragile, burns to ashes. Exile is not a curse. It is destiny. Because the world cannot crown you. Not yet. not until you have crowned yourself in silence. You must understand this. Greatness is not given in the light of the crowd. It is forged in the dark where no one claps, where no one believes in you, where even you doubt yourself. That is where strength is born. That is where power takes root. You are not alone in exile. Fire walks with you. It tests you, consumes you, threatens to destroy you. But it is the only companion worth keeping, because fire does not flatter. Fire does not lie. Fire strips you until only the essential remains. And what remains, if you endure it, is unbreakable. Think of every warrior, every king, every man of power. Their paths were not lined with roses. They walked through deserts of silence. They were betrayed, misunderstood, cast out, mocked, forgotten. They burned in exile, and because of that, they rose with steel in their bones. You must stop asking why you are alone. You must stop begging for understanding. You must stop thinking that exile means you are broken. It means the opposite. It means you are being carved into something the world cannot yet recognize. Do you feel misunderstood? Good. Do you feel cut off, abandoned, left to yourself? Good. Do you feel the burn of walking roads where no one else walks? That is not your punishment. That is your preparation. The law is simple. Exile creates clarity. Voluntary exile. Choosing to separate yourself. Choosing to embrace silence. Choosing to detach from noise. This is the weapon. Because when all the noise is stripped away, what is left? You, raw, bare, essential. And that is terrifying. But it is also the only way to kill the false self. The self that craves approval. The self that hides behind noise. The self that pretends strength but fears silence. That version of you cannot survive exile. He dies in the fire. And if you let him die, if you let the fire consume him, what rises from the ashes is the man you were meant to be. So stop fearing exile. Embrace it. Walk into it willingly. Let the loneliness sharpen you. Let the fire cleanse you. Let the silence strip you of every mask. Because exile is not the end of you. It is the execution of who you were. And when the fire is finished, when the old self lies dead in the ashes, you will rise, silent, scarred, and unrecognizable. The world will not have crowned you, but you will no longer need its crown. Because in exile you will have forged your own. There is a throne no one can take from you. It is not carved of gold or guarded by armies. It is carved of restraint. It is guarded by silence. Silence is the language of kings. You can feel its weight if you've ever stood in a room where a man of true power entered. He did not need to announce himself. He did not need to explain or persuade. The silence around him spoke louder than every voice combined. It was not emptiness. It was domination. Most men fear silence. They rush to fill it with noise. They talk to be heard. They argue to be validated. They shout to be remembered. They believe words give them power. But words are air. They vanish the moment they are spoken. Silence endures. A man who cannot hold silence cannot hold power. Because power demands stillness, control, the ability to let tension stretch until others break, the ability to remain unshaken while the world demands a reaction. This is why kings do not argue, why wolves do not explain, why warriors do not plead. They understand that words often reveal desperation, but silence reveals certainty. Think of silence as a blade. It cuts deeper than speech. It exposes insecurity. Hold it long enough and you will watch the weak unravel. Their fidgeting, their nervous laughter, their forced words, every crack in their armor is revealed when silence surrounds them. The strong know this. They wield silence like a weapon. They practice it, refine it, sharpen it. They know that every unnecessary word is a leak in their power. Every reaction a surrender of ground. And yet, silence is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not absence. It is pressure. It is the unseen hand that bends others without force. It is the storm before lightning, the stillness before war. The man who masters silence masters himself. He no longer seeks to prove. He no longer seeks to explain. He no longer wastes energy on convincing those who cannot see. His silence becomes a throne, unshakable, immovable, untouchable. Do you understand what that means? It means you no longer live as prey. It means you no longer dance for recognition. It means you no longer beg for crowns from the crowd. Instead, you let silence crown you. Watch how people collapse under it. In conversation, in conflict, in negotiation, say nothing. Hold the silence. Let it stretch like a blade across their throat. You will see them tremble. You will see them rush to fill the void. They will give themselves away, reveal their weakness, expose their fear. And you will remain still, unshaken, untouchable. This is the silence of kings. Not retreat, not fear, not emptiness, but power so heavy it no longer needs to speak. Do not mistake this for arrogance. Arrogance is loud. Arrogance is fragile. Silence is eternal. Silence is eternal. Silence is steel. It takes discipline. It takes mastery. It takes the strength to sit in the fire of discomfort, without moving, without speaking, without breaking. But if you endure it, if you carry it, if you become it, your presence alone will speak for you. The throne built of silence cannot be toppled, because no man can take from you what you refuse to give. So remember this: when words fail, when noise consumes, when others fight for attention and recognition, stay still, stay quiet. Let silence carry the weight. Because silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power perfected, and the man who carries it is already king. Your mind is either a shield or a shackle. Understand this truth, and you will know why most men live chained. Their minds betray them before the world even touches them. They are prisoners of noise, of distraction, of weakness disguised as desire. They call it freedom, but it is slavery. A steel mind is different. It does not chatter. It does not plead. It does not shiver when storms arrive. A storm cannot bend steel. It only proves it. But steel is not born strong. It is forged, burned, hammered, tempered in fire until every fracture is sealed, until every weakness is burned away. That is what discipline does to the mind. That is what exile, silence, and struggle prepare you for. The weak confuse flexibility for weakness. They believe to bend is to break. But steel bends under pressure and does not snap. It absorbs, it holds, it endures. The steel mind adapts without surrendering its core. Do you know why so many men collapse? Not because the world is cruel, but because their minds are soft. They are enslaved to every impulse, every flicker of distraction, every emotion that drags them by the throat. The mind that bleeds with distraction is already enslaved. A steel mind bleeds nothing. It sees, it calculates. It moves when it must, and it stays still when it should. It is both shield and blade, both fortress and spear. But how do you forge it? Through discipline, through detachment, through relentless focus. You do not harden the mind by feeding it comfort. You harden it by starving it of weakness. You do not sharpen it by running from pain. You sharpen it by staring at pain until it blinks first. Every temptation resisted adds weight to your steel. Every silence held adds armor to your fortress. Every distraction ignored adds another edge to your blade. Slowly, the molten fire of discipline cools into clarity, and the man you were becomes unrecognizable. You are not meant to be swayed by every voice. You are not meant to bow to every impulse. You are not meant to drown in the chaos of your own mind. You are meant to master it, to command it, to make it kneel before you. Because if your mind kneels, nothing outside you can stand against you. But if your mind betrays you, nothing inside you will ever survive. Think of the steel mind as a throne within your skull. The world throws storms, temptations, betrayals, chaos. And yet you remain seated. You bend, but do not break. You bleed, but do not collapse. You are not moved by noise. You are not enslaved by distraction. You are not owned by emotion. And in that stillness, you see. You see moves others cannot. You see weaknesses others hide. You see the battlefield clearly, because your own mind is no longer the enemy. Steel is not gentle. Steel is not fragile. Steel does not ask permission to exist. Neither should your mind. Remember this: comfort softens, distraction enslaves, emotion betrays, but discipline, detachment, and focus. These are the fires that turn thought into strategy. When the storm comes, men of wood will splinter, men of stone will crack, but the man of steel will remain. So ask yourself, is your mind your shield or your shackle? Because in the end, only one survives. There is a power the world does not understand. It is not in the noise, nor in the spotlight, nor in the desperate scramble for attention. It lives where the world forgets to look. In silence, in stillness, in the shadows. Most men crave to be seen. They shout their names into the void. They parade their illusions of power, hoping the crowd will believe them before they collapse under their own lies. They chase recognition like starving dogs chasing scraps, believing visibility is victory. But true power does not announce itself. True power conceals itself. It hides its edge until the moment it strikes. It moves in silence, like a wolf circling prey, unseen, but inevitable. The throne of shadows is not for the restless, not for the weak, not for the man addicted to noise. It is for the few who can endure invisibility, for the few who understand that the less the world sees you, the more untouchable you become. Think of a king who never raises his voice. Think of a strategist who never reveals his hand. Think of a predator who never exposes his teeth until the kill. That is the throne of shadows. Unseen dominance, quiet control, the kind of presence that does not need to be validated because it is undeniable. Only shadows can crown you. Only when you detach from the desperate hunger for glory can you sit on the throne. No enemy can reach, because the man who thrives in shadows cannot be targeted. He cannot be deceived. He cannot be broken by recognition or destroyed by exposure. The weak collapse under their own noise. They make themselves visible, and in visibility, they become vulnerable. But the silent rise, not through spectacle, but through patience, not through display, but through restraint. Do you see the paradox? The world believes power is loud, but the loud are always fragile. The strong are always quiet, and the strongest are invisible until it is already too late. The throne of shadows is exile turned into empire. It is the ability to vanish from the eyes of the world, and yet remain present in every outcome. It is the art of being untouchable, because no one can strike what they cannot see. When the world no longer sees you, you become untouchable. Your movements cannot be tracked. Your mind cannot be read. Your strategy cannot be predicted. This is the final law. The weak must collapse, so the silent can rise. The loud destroy themselves with noise. The desperate betray themselves with movement. But the shadow waits. The shadow watches. The shadow wins. So ask yourself, are you still begging to be seen? Are you still shouting, explaining, justifying? Or are you learning the language of silence, the strength of invisibility, the patience of the wolf who waits in the dark? Because the throne is not given. It is not inherited. It is not awarded by applause. The throne of shadows must be taken by the man who is willing to step out of the light, embrace the silence, and rule without being seen. That man is no longer just a man. He is a storm that never announces itself. A presence felt, but never captured. A crown worn, but never displayed. And when he moves, the world obeys.